Welcome back to the Irish Independence League of Ireland preview show. Well, Ireland's World Cup dream is over. The international week that was. We have 5 big games to look forward to this weekend, and also we'll have a look at the Bank Holiday Monday fixtures as well. But Dan, I suppose we should mention the elephant in the room that was Prague last week. We don't need to go over the North Macedonia game too much.
We don't need to go over Prague too much
at all.
No, I think people are broadly aware of what happened.
You'd like to think so. Like.
Yeah, it is just more. It's a strange one that we are coming into probably the busiest window of the League of Ireland season now. But you have that sense of, I think, for a lot of people in Irish football, there is a bit of a downer because there was a hope, there was a feeling that the improbable thing could happen, and it would have given everyone a boost. And I think now there's a lot more of a connection between what's happening with the international team and the league here. But I think previously they existed on an island, as in 2 different islands. We are on an island, and to be clear, I'm aware of that. But there would have been a sense of there's no correlation between the two. But obviously now with the academy funding situation, the importance of that. The fears that really still not enough, whatever has been secured from the government, it's still insufficient for what's needed. So, and naturally what everyone is trying to do to make football better in Ireland is complicated by a broke association and just a shortage of, the sort of the legacy debt that exists. So obviously something that would have given everyone an unexpected boost, I think there would have been a domino effect for everyone, but there isn't, and I suppose that in a way, there's an element of refocusing, and if you want to consistently qualify for and compete in tournaments, you need to have a better football infrastructure, a better football industry, and I suppose that should focus the minds. Czechia is a much more advanced football country now still. I mean, Ireland should have won the game, so you can't necessarily look at them and go, you don't have the players. Like a team with what looks like an inferior national team is going to the World Cup, but what they did probably have is the comfort blanket of having 13 players from their own league in their squad, that when they don't have the top players to go to the top clubs in Europe like they used to, they still have a little bit more of they have a stronger system at home that probably gives more players chances and opportunities to come through, and we've seen that. I was there, inspired to Prague by Shamrock Rovers in the Conference League last year. So, maybe the disappointment should focus the minds of everyone to get the house in order at home here, and hopefully some of the players that are playing this weekend will be involved in World Cup 2030 qualifying, or maybe more likely 2034, and we can trace the lines between the 2 dots.
And when no one probably wants to hear it at the moment, but when you look at it in the co-light today, just a while ago we heard Ireland the third
worst performing
nation in UEFA. So kind of when you strip it back and look at the facts, maybe we were all hoping to get the result in Prague, but maybe it's not too much of a surprise. When you take a step back and kind of look at the grassroots.
Well, yeah, I do take the point, and I'd be a big proponent of that argument normally. But in this instance, Ireland were 2 goals up and lost in penalties.
22 minutes.
So I don't know if the reason it wasn't seen through was because the emerging talent program was ceased or something. It is something that happened. But obviously there's just a great regret there that there's a sense of affinity with a lot of the players. And I suppose I've made this point, and it is an important point though as well, that this Irish generation that is trying to qualify for this tournament, that tried to qualify for this tournament and will be the core of the team for the next one. Look, the core of that team is the last generation that went away before Brexit. And yes, you have the later developers like Ogbene and Scales and Ryan Manning and more to come. Johnny Kenny was involved, and we'll see more, probably Josh Honahan or whatever. But the core of that team, the Collins, O'Shea, Kelleher, Malumbi, Parrott, Ferguson, when he played in the league here, he was ushered out the door. They basically snuck him out the door before people realised how Brexit worked. All the stuff people hear about the mother is irrelevant. It was just a pure stroke. The reality is that the next generations are going to be, the core is going to come from the system here, and the question mark still is how strong that system is. We've seen the 17s qualify for World Cup again, but not for Euros. It's weird. It's the reverse of the men's team. It's easy to qualify for World Cup. But yeah, that is a little cautionary note, and that has to be the reminder that it's really, really important to sort this out, because what this team can do, what the national team can do, and it's been the most convincing argument. It's the easiest argument to win now in terms of funding. It's like, we want our national team to be better. There's now a direct relationship between making the league better and making the national team better, and that should focus the minds. But yeah, we just got to get back into it now and back into the run of the league campaign. Yeah,
back on the horse. I suppose, Dan, just looking at Drogheda against Bohemians, I know you'll be there on Friday night as well. Drogheda coming into this winless in 6, and I remember being up there second game of the season. They just won their second game in a row, second clean sheet. I think they were top of the league that night momentarily, and it's absolutely nosedive from then. Of course, we all know what's been happening off the pitch. Travella decided to announce the Joanna Byrne news right at the start of the international window, hoping to bury it between the international break. Yeah. And just from a Bohemians point of view, they'll be really, really happy with their start to the season, still top by 1 point. But you just feel like, and we are coming into the busiest period of the season, April, May, Drogheda really need to put a couple of results together here.
Yeah, and I suppose this is a fixture that last year it caused a lot of problems for Bows until the very end, until the last game of the season. Otherwise, they don't have great memories of Sullivan and Lamb Park.
It was like 4 1-0 wins in a row.
Yeah,
and quirky,
and it's going to be hard for. There's a few things around the game. Let's just see. It's the first game since Joanna Byrne left, and what will the local mood be like? Has time sort of diluted the feelings? Maybe or maybe not. Alan Reynolds is going to be serving his touchline ban, because that's one of the things, again, they got it out there during the international break. The Reynolds and Dave McAllister getting the 3-game ban from the derby. Look, yeah, Bows with a great start to the season. Probably coming up to the break, just one or two little signs of, okay, I don't know, is it fatigue or just that sense of being at the top of the table, and one or two, maybe a couple of scratchier performances. So the little refresh, probably no harm. But as you say, yeah, just Drogheda need to be careful, because on budgets they should be down near the bottom of the table. They've overperformed. They've created their own expectation now. And yeah, it's stating the obvious. And particularly coming into these windows, we've basically now got 3 games in a week. Drogheda need to win at least one of them, I think, just to steady things.
Just the game I'm at on Friday, Tulka Park, Shelbourne hosting Dundalk, and you mentioned the break there, and obviously Alan Reynolds served a touchline ban. We all saw the handbags between Shells and Bows. I know you were there a couple of weeks ago, but just from a Shells point of view, I think we mentioned it a few weeks ago as well. The break did come at a good time for them. They looked a bit tired, they looked a bit leggy in those last couple of games. Obviously injuries have pretty much decimated a lot of their defenders. We'll have to see the prognosis on. I think Paddy Barrett's nearing a return,
he was the one that was closer
to Oran Casey. But I think just once they get a few bodies back, they'll really hit the ground running, because they'll be probably an average enough start to the season, but you just feel like once they get a few bodies back, they'll kind of kick on.
Yeah, it was a huge win in Sligo before the break for them, because I think, yeah, there was definitely signs of wear and tear creeping in, and because they're in Europe this year, they're going to have extra games when we kick into May and some of those sort of Monday rounds. So yeah, they have a good squad though. It's just like they've obviously been hit. They've been hit by issues in defence. I mean, they do have the option to rotate in midfield and in forward areas that other clubs would be very envious of. And I think that win in Sligo was big for them, because when it comes down to it, yeah, they've got into the break. I mean, a couple of points off where they'd want to be, I'm sure, but not out of sight, or not in any way, not in any way sort of playing serious catch up. So yeah, it's a good fixture, this one, because like Dundalk were excellent, before the break. They had that double header win at home,
for them, yeah.
where maybe again they won a game there without playing fantastically well, but they just seem to have a nice mixture of sort of younger players, older players. Owen Kenny scored the 21s for the North. Arubi was very good before the break. Horgan's been excellent. Obviously the goalkeeper situation, Conor Cairns, probably wouldn't have been played in this game anyway, probably under the terms of his loan. But they were a bit of a surprise package But I think, Kilduff and his staff would have high enough expectations. So it's a good game, that one. I think it should be enjoyable.
Just on Shells, and I know they've a big derby against Shamrock Rovers on Monday. Is the lack of goals a concern? Because I know John Martin scored a few, but I don't think any other of their strikers have scored. I know Meepo's been out, Sean Boy's yet to go off the mark. Freitas seems to be taking a little while to kind of get up to the speed of things in the league.
Yeah, it was the problem last year, and it could well be their problem this year. You can't get away from that. But in saying that, there's been I don't know if they've had certain games this year where they've been missing the same array of chances as they were at times last year and in the run-in and
Europe.
In Europe, that really was a killer for them. I don't think it's quite been that tale this year. It's not quite a case that they've had games where they've been completely dominant and thrown away points. There's been one or two games where they've dropped points like that, and probably Waterford at the beginning of the season, a couple of games where they've relinquished positions. But I think as well they concede goals at bad times too, as well as not taking their chances.
Just moving on to St. Pat's against Sligo Rovers, two teams really coming into this in really opposite form. St. Pat's absolutely flying. I was at Richmond Park just before the break. Derry ending their winning streak, but St. Pat's have much the better chances. Sligo Rovers really struggling, just 3 goals conceded and 3 goals scored in 8 games so far. It's a real, Stephen Kenny's talking a lot so far this season about making Richmond Park a real difficult place to come, real fortress. That's a real difficult one for Sligo Rovers, this one.
Yeah, I think they've had a sort of mixed fortunes in this fixture. They've had some bad luck in Pat's kind of controversial decisions going against them. But Pat's, definitely one of the positive stories of the first half of the season, or the first quarter of the season. They'll have gone into the break in reasonably good heart. You'll go to Dundalk on Monday after this, and then they've got Shamrock Rovers at home next Friday. So it feels like for the sort of good vibes they have there, a bit of a must win, I suppose. I think as well, the couple of players they've had, Keena, Elbazetti, Mata, they've obviously been managing injuries and trying to sort of ease them into the season.
A couple lads come back, like Keane Levy, Chris Forrester.
Yeah, maybe the break. Yeah, maybe I think Forrester's just been cut out, and does he have more of a role to play as the season goes on? He's notoriously not a lover of pre-season, maybe, and maybe he'll find his rhythm a bit, particularly again, although they don't have the European Monday games, so they'll have a little bit more of a structured schedule this year. But Sligo Rovers, every year they face it. They lose players, but the loss of that goal threat is an obvious worry.
Dan, I know you've seen a good bit of Derry so far this season. It's a kind of a quirky one with the new pitch at the Brandywell. It's the first of 4 away games at the moment for them. First up, a trip to Galway United, who have probably made a solid enough start, all things considered. Before the season, I know there were massive worries among the Galway fan base ahead of the season, whereas a lot of pre-season predictions tipped Derry to be really pushing Shamrock Rovers, and now around a quarter way through the season they're 8-9 points off the top. So Galway are probably exceeded expectations a little bit. Derry have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, no, they do, and they've got sort of the Connacht sort of doubleheader this weekend, and I think they probably, another team, probably no harm to have the break and just have a little bit of a reset. They obviously changed their system halfway through. Again, like Tiernan Lynch spoke about, signing players who weren't quite ready for the start of the season and didn't have a pre-season. Now again, some people wouldn't have sympathy for that. They'd be like, if you're going to have a title challenge, well then you probably need to be a little bit better organised. Obviously some players come up a little bit later in the day and you're going to make an exception, but Barry Cotter's come in. Some players, Tiernan Lynch said, could only play 60 minutes.
That's a worry. Like,
getting to the stage now where you need 90-minute performances on a Friday and maybe a 90 on a Monday from some of these players. So we're going to learn a lot about Derry in the next 7 days. Galway, I mean they're overlooked a little bit. Just because I suppose they're going through that phase of sort of, they might just be a solid mid-table is a great season for them. It's just not necessarily a very stimulating talking point. Again, they brought Piero in late enough in the day.
A few weeks under his belt.
Yeah, a few weeks under the belt. Let's see where they are. I watched them in Tala at the end, before the break, and they are a side who will see at Derry, like, you can get at them. Like, there is no doubt that Derry They give you opportunities. Even the goals that Drogheda scored, they just were sort of popping sort of 40, 50-yard diagonals into areas and asking Derry to deal with them. And there was exceptional strikes off the back of it. But I think everyone fancies the crack off Derry at the moment, and Galway will I'm sure they will look to do that.
It's a wild statement to say, and it is true, but it's a kind of wild statement to say for a team who were tipped to really push Shamrock Rovers.
Where's your wild statement? I'm built up this wild statement.
Pre-season. No, just what you said there, how any team can have a crack off them at the moment. Like it's kind of.
I thought you had a wild prediction coming there. You built me up for something.
It's quite a stark thing to say, and it's spot on for a team who we all were expecting. Like they're 9 points off, and we are coming to.
But you say we all were. This is the thing. My fear in pre-season was that there was too much. Like it's hard to have it to win a league with a team that appears to have been thrown together without a great strategy about it, and that probably came to pass a little bit with how they've started the season. But the schedule and the way it's set up gives you a chance to get back in. Like how many times have Shamrock Rovers started seasons slowly and then they've gone in that run in April, May that it's forgotten. Like Derry have to have viewed the break as a bit of a reset. But at some stage in the next 2 months, like they need to win 4 in a row. Like they need to do something like that, because if they don't, they won't be in the discussion.
Like there's been a good few boos of full time after some of their poor results at the Brandywell. Is there kind of sense that you mightn't expect it to be, but this little break away from home might actually work out in their favour?
We all said that before the game, and a lot of people said it before the game in Tala, and it didn't correspond.
Didn't happen at all for them.
But there could be something in it. Like there definitely could be. There could be something in it. They never have to play in that terrible pitch again, which is a good thing too. But let's be honest. There's a lot of focus on Tiernan Lynch at the moment, and they've run of 4 away games, followed by Shamrock Rovers at home in Celtic Park, which is a huge event. Derry are going to want to have a buzz around that game, so I think they need to get results in the meantime.
A big few weeks ahead for them. Dan, just finishing off, Waterford hosting Shamrock Rovers at the RSC this Friday. It's really feels like a pivotal couple of days coming up. Shamrock Rovers at home, and then really difficult trip to Bohemians away on Monday for Waterford. Their form has been really worrying. I know John Daly coming in during the winter, getting used to his new players, but they should have a lot more points than they do have right now. And we all know, like, the owners that are in place there, EFL type owners, not exactly big on patience. We've seen in the past, like, and you don't want to be talking about this sort of stuff like unfairly, but they are where they are on the table, and it's a real worry for them.
No, you have to talk about it. That's the job, unfortunately. If you want to, it's professional football, and that's
of course.
It's cruel, but I mean, John Daly's a very, very experienced football man, so he'll know what people are saying and thinking. Hopefully from his perspective, he's had conversations inside that are a bit more reassuring. But you do look at it, they've got really 2 tough games this weekend, and then maybe a slightly kinder run of fixtures. And sometimes that can be worrying for a manager, because you might, if you're going to make a change, you might do it when it feels like it's a little bit more of a generous run coming. That approach is sometimes followed. But I think the flip side of that is they signed Kevin Long before the break. Again, maybe John Matten's injury wasn't as bad maybe as they thought. That at least give John Daly the chance to do it with a big signing that was made, in particular Long, and see, okay, is that going to shore things up? Is that going to clarify the system that you're going to play and be a little bit more comfortable in it? Like, he did let defenders go when he came in, thinking he could get better. And obviously then they needed to make a signing early in the season, because that didn't quite work out, or it didn't get all of the targets that they wanted. It's mad again that we're coming to Shamrock Rovers.
I was going to say, yeah,
because they are.
First time ever.
This is the series. This is the period of the season where they tend to make hay in their title-winning years. It's when the fixtures stack up. They've had players away at various. Pico Lopez was away, friendlies, Ajahn Vuna and others away with the underage. Adam Brennan was injured. Didn't have to play for 21s. So yeah, they probably feel it coming out the break more than some other teams do, in terms of a little bit more. They maybe haven't had the chance maybe to do a very straightforward week this week, but still, like, this is the time where they get going. And yeah, they won down at Waterford last year. They've pulled out a couple of big wins down there when they've needed them at times, but they are heading into another week with 2 Dublin derbies. So probably similar to Pat's. They're probably thinking of the 3 games they've got, this is the game you have to win this one and then see what happens with the others.
Nice to get kind of energised about the 5 games coming up after.
Great distraction.
North Macedonia.
Haven't thought about the World Cup for 15 minutes or so there, so it's all good.
Well, 5 big games to look forward to this Friday, and of course the Bank Holiday Monday fixtures to come as well will be across all the latest build-up and reaction across the League of Ireland games here on the Irish Independent.